Hey Starseeds, this is part 2 of the interview that I had with the 9th Dimensional Arcturian Council as channeled by Daniel Scranton. I'm just going to insert the same intro that I had for part 1 in case people didn't watch that or don't want to watch that, or the YouTube algorithm just recommended this one and you don't want to go to part 1, then here's the intro. And then if you've already watched part 1, you can just jump ahead to this timestamp that's going to be below. Hey Starseeds, this is going to be a really special interview that I had with the 9th Dimensional Arcturians as channeled by Daniel Scranton. Daniel Scranton is one of the most important human channels that I've had the pleasure of learning from in this incarnation. He channels various different dimensions and various different beings, including the creators, Hathors, Pleiadians, but most primarily the Arcturians. And in this interview, I ask a few personal questions that has to do with my experiences, but I do believe that if you're tuned into my video, then somehow it is also relevant to your frequencies that you're experiencing. I didn't necessarily ask to clarify all of the various different experiences that I had, simply because I feel that I wasn't ready to get clarity on those situations. So even if I do have a certain knowledge about what happened to me, I still wanted to hear the Arcturians as they are channeled through Daniel, because he has a different set of belief systems, and it's often very beneficial to get the higher dimensional perspectives as channeled by other people. Because what's really important when you're working with channels, and even when you're working with your own higher selves, is to notice that on the third density that we've been experiencing, there's always some sort of complex distortion and convoluted belief systems that will, the higher dimensions have no choice but to kind of funnel itself through that, because that's the way that it could communicate to you. So even if you're so used to working with the Arcturians on your personal self, it's always nice to hear it from somebody else. But what's also important to remember is that the other channel also has their own distortion and their own filter. So make sure that you are not so attached to specific details, or that you're not relying on the other person to channel some kind of absolute truth, because absolute truth can't be translated anyway. But I do highly recommend that you get in touch with Daniel Scranton for a personal reading if you resonate with mine, because I personally had such a profound experience. This was the first time I worked with Daniel on a channel session. I had a light language session before this, but working with him in this way, I was able to really sense a huge personal transformation on this energetic level because of the way that he was channeling them for me. And it was really one of the best days of my life, from the information that came through, especially if you know about me and my personal journey, and you've seen my Starseed Awakening video about how I used to have fluid connections with these other dimensions, especially elementals and fairies. It's very interesting that when I asked Daniel's channeling of the 9th Dimensional Arcturians, they brought this experience up, and to me this was very emotional. So I was almost crying, and then I started laughing, and they were really funny because they gave me this wave of like humorous compassion when they noticed that I was pretty emotional. It was just an amazing experience. These are a mixture of questions. Some of them were listed, and some of them I have my own belief systems, but like I said, I wanted to hear their perspective, and some of the questions were asked in proxy of the collective. I tuned into your energy and what you might want to hear, and then I asked a few questions in that way. And I hope you really enjoy this as much as I did, and I really think that it will help you gain a new perspective on this reality that we're living. So enjoy, and much compassion and love to you. Thank you.
Do you think I have something I should know that I don't?
In your youth, you had a lot of experiences with fairies. And you weren't encouraged to have these experiences. In other words, every time you would talk about fairies, it would be something that others would discourage you from. You were told that you needed to be more focused on reality, on being in the real world. And so you gave up those friendships that you were forming with the fairy beings. But they never gave up on you. And so if you wanted to reestablish your connection with the fairy realm, it would be very easy for you to do. And you would tap into those friendships, those partnerships, and co-create with them very easily.
Thank you.
Yes?
I find you guys really funny for some reason.
Yes, we are very funny. We are hysterical.
What do you do for fun?
We explore. Mostly it's about seeing what else there is to discover about reality, about the experience of this universe. And we so enjoy watching others in the same way that you enjoy watching television and movies.
Okay.
See? It's beautiful to us, the relationships that beings have with each other and what's going on in this part of the galaxy and what these beings are doing with these. And we're very curious to see how it's all going to come together.
But can't you see what's going to happen anyway?
We can, but we don't have to. And it's only down one particular timeline. So if we wanted to see, in other words, it's the same thing with you. You have your entire series of Game of Thrones, for example, available to you. So you could watch just the last episode, the first episode and the last episode, and see how it all turns out in the end. Or you could go through it not knowing that you could find out what's going to happen, but not wanting to know, so that you get to experience how it all unfolds. That's how we are with when we are witnessing something going on in some other part of the galaxy or some other dimension.
Are you simultaneously also tuned into other planets like Earth, like third density, fourth density stuff? Are you also watching them?
Yes.
Okay.
By them, you mean you. You are a part of them.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. This is not a big revelation here.
Have you evolved from third density realities too?
Yes.
And your experience wasn't as tumultuous as ours?
No.
Yours was easier.
Yes.
So do you have a hard time understanding our situations?
No, because it's easy for us to have compassion.
But you have no idea how we feel, right? Because you don't have that bandwidth of frequency available.
We have memories, faint memories of what it's like, but you're right in the sense that it's easier for you to empathize with a person who's having a similar experience than it is for us.
Would you ever go back to a third density incarnation?
We will someday, yes.
Why?
Because there's nothing else to do.
But there's other infinite octaves available, but why would you want to go back to the third?
Because anything gets boring after a while.
I didn't know boredom was a thing you could tune into.
It's the best way of communicating. In other words, it's the best word that we have for it. For sameness. Eventually, we will reemerge into source energy, and from that place of being all that is, we will want to explore something new and exciting.
I've heard that.
Just like you, to continue with our analogy, once you complete watching Game of Thrones, you might decide that you want to go and start another television show to binge on. So as we finish our cycle here in this universe and go back to source, we're going to want to explore something else. And the best way to do that is to start at the ground floor and work your way up.
So are you going to become a mineral?
Perhaps. If there are minerals in the universe that we go to, yes.
But would you prefer to be in this current universe or go somewhere completely irrelevant where you don't even know what's going to happen? Like maybe there's universes where there's not even any minerals or plants or humanoids?
Correct.
Is that something you might want to do?
It is.
Do you know what it's going to be like?
No, that's why we go there to experience it. We get a picture, but you can get a picture of something without really feeling into it.
Okay.
From that source energy perspective, it's impossible to know. That's why people who are on Earth right now say things like, I would never have chosen this if I knew how hard it was going to be. Because they really didn't know how hard it was going to be until they incarnated here. And once you start your incarnational cycle, very few people choose after death to not complete it.
Okay.
Because you know also from that place of being in the non-physical, you know the value of sticking to the original plan.
Right. Are the Arcturians essentially from the central galaxy?
What do you mean?
I have a strange association with, the central galaxy, and I guess what Daniel calls the creators, are they more from the central galaxy, right?
The creators are 12th dimensional, and therefore they are from everywhere.
Oh. So, like Ra, in this dimension,
yes.
What's called, are they related to you guys?
No.
Oh, what's the difference?
Ra is 12th dimensional, and Ra is a group of teachers, and has no affiliation with any particular star system.
Are they the creators that Daniel calls the creators?
No, that's a different collective. There are many different collectives in the 12th dimension that all bring a slightly different energy, a slightly different perspective.
Okay. I just noticed that a lot of people who are starseeds of Arcturians, they have some sort of Ra in their name. So I just had this connection to that? Is there any significance in that?
It's significant to you.
Right.
In other words, once you make a connection like that, you're going to continue to create that experience for yourself.
Why do I have such a pull towards this raw group? Are they somehow important to my life, or do I have some sort of connection with them?
It's just the material that they're bringing through is relevant to you.
Okay.
Relevant to your journey. It's what is that next step for you on your journey, to know the information that they brought through.
Okay. Do you have any recommendations of other teachers that I should look into?
Eckhart Tolle.
Really?
Yes.
Is he Arcturian?
No, he's actually more related to the fairy realm.
Wow.
Yes.
Is that Pleiades?
The fairies originated from the Lyran star system.
Okay.
So you have representatives of the fairies there in different forms.
Right.
Because the Lyrans were a big part of the evolution of your consciousness in Lemuria.
Mm-hmm. So I'm curious, how you guys help us. Is there a star system that helps you guys?
Well, we have the 10th, 11th, and 12th dimensions that we get to connect to for assistance, guidance. So
what kind of guidance do they give you?
They tell us that it's important for us to be balanced in what we are giving, and how we, in the same way that a healer on your world, a healer needs to take care of him or herself in addition to helping others, and that healer can overtax him or herself with the amount of energy that he or she is allowing to run through the physical body. We get the same type of feedback from beings like the creators, Yeshua, archangels. They tell us we need to slow down sometimes. We need to replenish ourselves. We still have an inner journey, even though we don't have a physical body. There is still to us the inner realm and the outer realm. So we need to balance sometimes. We need to watch less TV, so to speak. And we need to sometimes replenish ourselves rather than always being in that state of giving.
Okay. A lot of people are confused between, extraterrestrials and angels. Could you clarify this a little bit?
Well, a lot of extraterrestrials that appeared in history for humanity were thought of as angels because they could fly, because of the glow that was around them, because they seemed to come from the heavens. So extraterrestrials historically have posed as gods for humanity and have played the role of gods. You have the Greek gods, you have the Hindu gods, you have the gods throughout history, the Egyptian gods. They all were in actuality extraterrestrials. And some of the angels that are referred to in the Bible were extraterrestrials as well.
Okay, well, are angels a less mutated versions of source energy than extraterrestrials?
Well, mutated is not the word that we would use to describe them. In other words, everything and everyone is an expression of source energy, but the further you go into density, the more separate you can feel or experience yourself as in the form that you're in. So angels, because they are 12th dimensional, they don't have that experience of being so far separate from source. So they don't have that feeling of distortion of who they are in the way that an extraterrestrial being who's very physical, who seems to be very disconnected from the other extraterrestrials' singular identity, that being, of course, is having a much more distorted experience of who they really are. So distorted is the word we would use instead of mutated.
Right.
But that being can still experience him or herself or itself as source energy. It's just more likely to be playing that role of disconnected, or playing that role of not truly knowing who they really are.
Does this one source energy that we always talk about, does this source energy have a next level of source energy?
Yes.
And that's infinite?
Yes.
So is there multiple source energies, or
yes?
So the source energy is a collective as well?
Yes.
Okay. Could you paint us some sort of a hologram of the most ideal timeline of humanity in maybe like a decade? So I know there's multiple different ways it can unfold, but can you just choose one?
No, but you can.
Why?
Because we're not there having the experiences. You are. So you need to be the one who creates the hologram, because you're the one, as you said, we cannot completely relate to the human experience. We can see down the various timelines, but you're the one having the experiences. You should be the one determining what's the ideal for you. And then you can align with that particular timeline and that version of the human collective. You don't have to wait, and you don't have to wonder, and you don't have to see what everyone else is creating for you. You get to harmonize with that version of reality.
So if it's, let's say, 10 to 20 years, is it possible that you can go to your star system?
Well, yes, absolutely.
Wow.
Yes.
Can I go home?
Yes. You can,
and then will I stay there?
You can if you want. Earth won't need you anymore.
In 10 to 20 years?
In 5 to 10.
Wow, but that's only a probability. It could be like 30 years
it's
if we were
high probability.
So I can go home in 5 years?
5 to 10. Probably not 5. But in 5, you'll probably get visited by some Arcturians in the physical.
Do you mean me or everybody else too?
You in particular.
That's so exciting.
Yes?
That's so exciting.
It is.
Okay.
Yes. And you see, that's why you leave source energy and you go down to lower densities. What you just described in terms of your excitement for having that experience, that's why we would, once we re-emerge into the source energy dimension, why we will do it all over again, is because we want that.
But can't you, at that level of creation, can't you just tap into this fractal of time without having all those incarnations?
There has to be a forgetting involved, or else you don't have the same experience. In other words, if you didn't forget that you were these beings, in other words, if you're holding that source energy level of consciousness, then you know that the beings that you are going to meet when you are visited by Arcturians are just going to be you. So it's less exciting than if you see them as different.
But technically, could you be in this present moment and download all of these memories that didn't exist? Like, what if
you could play a virtual reality type of game while in Source, but it still won't be the same. Just like when you have virtual reality there, it's not the same as when you experience it in real life.
Can you say something about this technology that we're developing?
Which technology?
Like virtual reality and artificial intelligence?
Well, again, it's never going to be as good as the real thing.
Okay.
So it's to give yourselves a taste of what is to come, but what is to come is ultimately going to be better.
You mean when we're traveling astrally and such?
Yes, and when you don't need virtual reality because anything that you could imagine, you can experience.
Okay, so if I do go back to Arcturus, the star system, it's not going to be a physical movement?
Yes.
Is it going to be more etheric or astral or whatever?
Well, you can travel through a portal and get there in seconds. You can teleport and get there even less time. You can take a spaceship if you like.
Okay.
However you want to get there is up to you.
Okay.
That's part of the joy of the experience, is that you get to choose.
Are you familiar with this branch of people like Corey Good?
Yes.
And David Wilcock?
Yes.
So these blue sphere beings, are they Arcturian?
The blue sphere beings are representatives of the entire galaxy.
So these are these 12th dimensional creators?
No, they're not creators. They're still physical beings. So they're 7th dimensional beings, but they are not from one particular star. In other words, there are some sphere beings that are from the Pleiadian star system, some from Arcturus, some from Andromeda, some from Lyra, and so on. And some that are, of course, not really identifying with any one particular star system, because they understand that they are from all of them.
Okay. Okay, well there's like only 4 minutes left, so could you just give us a last message before you go?
Yes, the place where you're always going to be able to experience all of this that you want to experience, the place where you don't have to wait at all, you don't have to experience any sort of patience, is when you are in your heart. And so we invite you to spend more of your time there and letting other beings come to you. In other words, instead of you thinking you really want to go to them, you really want to go to the Arcturian star system, for example, instead of thinking along those lines, think about how easy it is for you to connect with them, with all the Arcturians that you want to connect with, and all the higher frequency beings that you want to connect with, including the fairies, including the angels, as you focus on being heart-centered, being there in your heart and feeling for the love that you are, you're going to shift. You talk about when all this is going to happen and whether it's going to be 5, 10, 20, 30 years. Think in terms of accessing the timelessness of the fifth dimension right now, and how you have access to the timelessness of the fifth dimension when you go inside your heart. And then the journey within will be as fun for you as the journey that you want to make out there, and the journeys you want to make out there. They're all contained within you right now. You don't have to wait for anything. It's not even virtual reality, because it's not a technological simulation. It's a feeling experience. All the experiences that you want to have because of the feeling state that you associate with them. So as you go within, you find that feeling state, you bring yourself there in the now moment, you shrink down that experience of time, and perhaps you even jump a little further along on the timeline that you're on, and get there sooner. But don't do it for that reason. Do it because it's the best possible place for you to exist right now, in your heart center, in the love that you are.
Okay, thank you. Before I go, can I just ask, right now I'm in Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia for work, and I don't necessarily, I don't feel resonant being here. I was wondering if you have any specific geographical locations that you would recommend for me.
Peru.
What?
Yes.
To live there?
To go there. You don't have to stay there forever.
Why? Why do you want me to go there?
Well, because you're going to receive a lot of activations there.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
I love you guys so much.
Yes, and we love you. We are the Arcturian Council, and we have enjoyed connecting with you.